Hello guys, I hope this UPSC Prelims 2026 went amazing for you guys, and I hope to see you all guys write mains and to be successful in this exam preparation. So now I've come up with science and technology review of how this paper was, the overview of how science and technology has dealt and how its impact can be felt across this paper. So before starting with the question wise analysis of each question, myself, Navaneeth, I have cleared UPSC mains in CSE 2023 and CSE 2025, and it appeared for interview in both the years, right? So I've scored above 108 and 99, clearing both the years forest cutoff. So let's get started with this year's science and technology paper. So to be very frank, science and technology was on a tougher side this year. Well, questions were very factual. People would find it very difficult to attempt such questions. So let's see how to logically eliminate each option, each statement, so that we can derive answers. Because from knowledge, it is not possible to come up with a solution. So let's see how we derive answers. So yeah, let's start with the question number 44, which is about Dhruva 64. This is question number 44 and set D, right? So Dhruva 64, so which of the following statement about Dhruva 64 is or are correct? It is the third chip fabricated under DIRB program with an overall aim to enable creation of microprocessors. It is India's first homegrown 1.0 gigahertz 64 GB dual core microprocessor. Now this is extremely technical for any layperson to understand and to comprehend to answer this, right? So also any elimination technique doesn't apply here, because usually what people do is if they find factual numbers, right, people consider this as wrong, thereby eliminating this and then going ahead. But this is not how UPSC has been working these years. So the straightforward answer to this is option C, which is both statement 1 and 2. Yes, it is indeed the third chip fabricated under the DIRB program. And this comes under Digital India. This is the scheme under which this chip has been designed and fabricated. Yes, it is indeed 1.0 GHz and 64-bit dual core microprocessor. So extremely factual. Don't believe that many people would have attempted this. If at all, you are a genius. So now let's come to the 45th question of set D. So the Bureau of Indian Standards recently introduced national standards for test and assessing bomb disposal system. Which one of the following statement with regard to this statement is or are correct? So this is the fundamental question about bomb disposal system that has been recently introduced by standards introduced by BIS. So extremely factual question. We do not expect any student to solve this question in exam-like condition. So the question stems from the following. The new standard is known as IS 1944-2025, right? So extremely factual question. We cannot derive an answer from here. It will improve interoperability of equipment across agencies. So if you consider the three statements, this is most likely to be correct, because as India is transitioning towards more interoperability, more jointness, right? So this is highly likely to be correct. So we can take a guess on here, right? So if we consider this is wrong. Now still three statements are there, we cannot eliminate, right? Now coming to this, it was developed by TBRL DRDO in collaboration with 30th Central Science Research Institute, Russia. Highly factual, do not expect anyone to solve it. So the reference of Russia is nowhere related to this, right? So this is incorrect. The correct answer is C, 1 and 2. Yes, indeed, this is factually correct. So many people would have eliminated it, but that is not how it is, and it is indeed C. It's a very tricky question. You would have probably left it, and if you have left it, that's the right decision. Now coming to the 46th question, that is X born in UK was conferred the Nobel Prize in 2025. So a particular citizen born in UK was been conferred Nobel Prize in 2025. He was a professor in an American university when this prize was announced. Identify X. Extremely factual, extremely factual. Do not expect anyone to solve this in exam-like condition. Wouldn't have been covered in majority of the GS or current affairs topics. The correct answer is John Clark, right? Again, pretty factual. UPSC has gone extremely factual with science and technology. And yeah, that is John Clark for you. Now, this is the 48th question. Which one of the following pairs of semiconductor plants in India and their locations is not correctly matched, right? CG Power Industrial Solutions Private Limited Partnership. So here the trick is plain and simple. There is one private organization which was in use for a really long time. And if you were to know that, you could come to a conclusion on this answer. And particular thing is HCL Foxconn Joint Venture Chip India Chip Limited. This is for certain not in Madhya Pradesh. This is in Bangalore at Devanhalli, right? This is the place where HCL Foxconn is set up. And again, this statement everyone knows. Assam, there was a semiconductor fabrication facility and packaging facilities that were set up in Assam. So by using elimination technique, and if you really know this statement, you can come up to the solution that C is the correct answer here, as it is asking not, which of the following is not correctly matched here, right? So C is the correct answer here. And I don't think so anyone would be able to eliminate or come to a conclusion that this particular institution set up in Gujarat or this particular institution is set up in Odisha. So the elimination technique would have worked here, and the correct answer is C. So again, and factual question, if you had known this, you would have attempted it. And if you hadn't known this, you could have skipped it or gone with the elimination technique. So the detailed solution and the feedback for all these has been provided by SuperKalam in the answer keys. Please go through them for your detailed understanding of it and for this as well. Now coming to the 49th question, that is which one of the following statements regarding to India's indigenous new high resolution weather model Bharat forecast system. These are correct, right? So the question primarily premises on Bharat forecast system, right? Now its objective is to generate forecast at the panchayat cluster level. So again, a little bit difficult. Let's see how to derive an answer. It was developed by IIT Delhi, right? So here what we used to do is, like, if any term used to come here, we used to generally consider this as incorrect. When schemes, when ministries, or when any institution comes in, or when two institutions comes in, UPSC always used to play around with this. So here UPSC has played around. It is not IIT Delhi. It is a consortium of many different IITs and Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, IITM, that has done this. It is not IIT Delhi alone that was involved in it, and neither was IIT Delhi in entirety in this process, right? Now its objective is to generate forecast at panchayat level. Now read the statement once again with regards to India's indigenous high resolution weather model. So weather model, something related to rainfall, monsoon and other things. Where would it be of most helpful? For farmers, and where do farmers generally live? In panchayat clusters. So this statement is indeed correct and this statement is wrong, and the mapping is done in 6 meter to 6 meter cluster, 16 meter to 16 meter cluster, and that is how this is working. Rather, this is not 6 meter to 16 meters. This is in 6 kilometer into 6 kilometer radius mapping has been done. So this is how it is. The correct answer here, which of the following statement is correct? The correct answer here is option A, which is 1 only, the statement 1 only, right? Now moving to the next one, that is which of the following statement regarding the features of blockchain technology are correct. So this is a question about blockchain technology in particular. The records stored in databases may be made visible to relevant stakeholders without the risk of alteration, right? So this statement in general would be considered true because it is a distributable digital ledger that is provided with multiple nodes, and it is made visible and it can be made visible. For example, CBDC, if you take, it has a functionality. Not all blockchain or cryptocurrencies have this, but certainly blockchain technology does enable us to have this, right? The copies of the entry and copies of the entire database are stored on multiple computers on a network syncing within a second. Now this is slightly a controversial statement. We need to see how UPSC interprets it. To say within seconds is not true, right? To within a second it has been available. The entire database is stored on multiple computers, again, is an overstatement. So considering the options given here and the question, we need to consider this with a slight pinch of salt because UPSC may interpret this differently and might consider it as wrong, right? Similar goes with the statement 3 as well. Consortium blockchain is a blend of public and private blockchain allowing selective data access. So what does consortium mean here? So consortium here means a group of people are coming together and doing it, making a blockchain or making a cryptocurrency for it. right? So it is a blend of it's a hybrid model where public and private players come together and build a fundamental or foundational layer over it. So this statement is also true, but we need to see how UPSC interprets it, right? Mathematical algorithms makes it impossible to change or delete any data. So this is absolutely true. So we know that 1 and 4 are pretty sure that this is there in the answer, right? So the answer will certainly have this. Now coming to these two options, right? Here the likeliness of this being correct is on a higher side. Now see, if you want to contemplate it, about 80% of it is correct if UPSC interprets within seconds, as within few seconds, right? That is the only lacuna here. So we consider that the answer here would be C, that is 1, 2 and 4 will be the correct answer here. But this question is debatable and doubtful. UPSC can interpret it in its own way, and therefore the answer is susceptible to change. So yeah, that goes with answer number 51, question number 51, that is C option. Now coming to the 66th question of set D, that is which of the following statement with regards to genetic medicine is or are correct. Now this answer can be easily derived, right? Genetic medicines correct compensate for the faulty genes responsible for the disease, right? Genetic medicines, of course, if these are genetic medicine, they have to repair faulty genes, right? So this statement is correct. Engineered viruses and lipid nanoparticles are used. Yes, indeed, engineered viruses and lipid nanoparticles are used as a carrier for this genetic medicine. So have you heard about CAR T-cell therapy? This is exactly how the therapy also works, where engineered viruses are inserted and thereby making a change to the genetic material. And this is how the genetic medicine works. So statement 2 is also correct. Now coming to statement 3, this is a wonderful statement that has been asked here. Genetic medicines alter the entire DNA sequence. Come again, entire DNA sequence, right? Now, if someone is saying that entire DNA sequence can be altered, would it ever be true? Genetic medicine can alter the entire DNA sequence. If that is true, all the people, all the celebrities who want the best genetics to their kids would just use some medicines, and therefore entire DNA sequence is altered, right? So it is not true. This statement is correct and illogical as well. It cannot be true. So the correct answer here is C, that is 1 and 2 only, and therefore we can derive an answer here. So considering all the questions here, this was one of the easiest, and therefore using common sense we could have solved this answer. Now coming to large language module, which is the buzzword in the town, right? And UPSC has picked this correctly and they have asked this question. Which of the following statement with regards to large language models used in machine learning is or are correct? Large language models assign probabilities to the next possible word and then pick the one with the highest probability, right? In LLMs, what is the fundamental concept of LLMs? What LLMs do is they predict the next possible word or the next possible outcome, right? So it is predicting, and it is basically predicting the best possible word or any sentence or any particular image pixel. And that is how LLM in general works, right? Possible words next to the word and then pick the one with the highest probability. So each neuron has a different weights attached, and whichever has the highest probability of prediction is balanced, and in that way we come out with the best possible answer. That is why when you see ChatGPT, it generates one response and the second response, and it asks you which one is the better one. So the LLM is in itself training itself to better predict what is the next possible word in the sequence, right? So this statement is correct. LLM process data through mathematical optimization to minimize predictive errors. This statement is also correct. So LLMs use an algorithm which is called as stochastic gradient descent, right? So it is a mathematical optimization. Algorithms like this are used to minimize the error in the LLM outputs, right? Now come to this statement. This statement is fundamentally wrong. So UPSC has in this year shown this trend where two statements, very technical, but would be largely correct. But the third statement is outrightly deletable through basic common sense. LLMs produce unbiased outputs. Have you ever heard LLMs producing unbiased outputs? There are many instances where Elon Grok had created multiple instances of bias towards a particular gender, bias towards a particular race, class, section of people, right? So LLMs are trained on a preset data, and based on what is written on those data, it has its own biases. It is controlled by inserting guardrails, right? So this is wrong. So the correct answer here is option B, that is 1 and 2 only, right? Now coming to the 68th question. So question from here gets slightly easier, right? So which of the following statements with regards to stealth technologies? So here stealth technology has come. So this is basically come because India is also searching for a 5th gen fighter, and we all have heard about F-35, then about F-22, then Su-57, right? And India also wants to purchase them, J-20 and all. So let's read about this. Stealth objects have a very small radar cross section and are coated with radar absorbing materials. So indeed, this is what is happening. The stealth technologies are very small radar cross section. That is why they are not visible on the radar, right? Whenever the beams are thrown, they do not reflect back. So they have radar absorbing materials, which reduces the radar cross section of the entire aeroplane. So this statement is correct. Stealth objects can be detected using specific frequencies. So if you can remember, during the Iran conflict, Iran actually hit a F-35 using an infrared beam. So a particular frequency, the stealth technology is susceptible to them because of the heat and other things generated, though they are under controlled situations, and the heat is also controlled to a larger extent. So this statement is also correct. Stealth objects are coated with metamaterials to increase the scattering of electromagnetic radiations. Now just imagine, I told you this trend, right? First two statements largely correct, the third statement is obsolete. Just basic common sense. If it increases the scattering of electromagnetic radiations, wouldn't the radar cross section increase? It would certainly increase, right? If the radar cross section increases, its detectability, its susceptibility to being intercepted increases. So how can the increase the scattering of electromagnetic frequency? How can stealth objects increase the scattering of electromagnetic frequencies? This cannot be possible, right? So statement 3 is incorrect. So the correct answer here is option C, that is 1 and 2 only correct, right? So 68th answer is option C, right? So this was an easier question. Basic common sense, a new pattern where third statement is generally made incorrect. Now coming to the 69th question. Now this question is directly from the tragic AI 171 crash in Ahmedabad, right? Gujarat, that had happened. So it is about black box, and they have asked a little bit in detail, in-depth scientific knowledge about this. So let's read about this. They carry a beacon emitting red light pulse to facilitate underwater detection, right? So this statement is truly technical, and this is not the correct answer, correct statement as well. So what happens is that it does not emit light pulse, the black box, right? So what happens is that it does not emit light pulse, but it has an underwater locator beacon, which is called as ULB. It is not detected using light. Rather, ULB is used to detect the black box if it is underwater. The major reason is that in a huge pile of water, the light doesn't travel, right? In the huge pile of water. So the light pulse can get distorted and the true location cannot be detected. That is the main reason. So this is incorrect. So this was very technical in nature. Had you known this, you could have easily eliminated 1, 3 and 4 options, thereby coming up to the conclusion. They record both cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder. Flight data recorder, cockpit voice recorder. These are the two systems which together called as black boxes. So it is then encompassing of these two that is called as black box. Their memory units are made using either stainless steel or titanium. This is purely technical. This is also correct. So correct answer here is option B. That is 2 and 3 is correct, right? This is 2 here. So very technical question, not easy. Had you read Indian Express during the time of Ahmedabad flight crash, you could have come up to a solution on this. But again, you had to make notes and all of this to come up with true solution for this, right? Now the next question is, consider the following statement with regarding to involvement of private entities in India's space program, right? Again, little bit difficult and little bit conceptual level of understanding is required. Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center in Space is an autonomous agency formed to facilitate participation of private entities, right? We all know that in space that was constituted as of ISRO wanted to focus on private player and bring private player into the domain so that we can have new launches, right? where ISRO can garner more revenue from launching these private entities program. So InSpace was given this task of bringing new private players so that ISRO can mop up revenue. So this statement is correct. It is an autonomous center in space, an autonomous agency formed to facilitate participation of private players. This is truly correct. Nicole Cosmos, it's a startup, launched the world's first flight using 3D printed rocket. So if you have read news properly, around 2024, 2025, they have developed their own rocket, 3D printed rocket for the launch into space, the outer space. And this statement is true. And Skyroot Aerospace has developed liquid fuel for GSLV. Now, Skyroot Aerospace is aerospace startup, right? That specializes into creating satellites. Do you think it will create liquid fuels that is used in GSLV, right? So we all know that there are 3 stages in GSLV: solid, liquid, cryo. Do you think this phase would be made by Skyroot Aerospace? No, this is not true. All the fuels of ISRO are made in-house by different arms of ISRO at different places. So this statement is wrong here. 71 is wrong. So this is among the larger trend that this year we are seeing, that in science and technology question, the third statement is generally incorrect if you apply common sense. But this was on a slightly trickier side because many people would seem that, okay, in promoting MSMEs and promoting startups, ISRO would be creating its fuel, but outsourcing creation of fuel can create huge dependencies for ISRO, which ISRO cannot afford at this moment, right? So the correct answer for the 71 question is option C. That is 1 and 2 only, right? So this is also correct. Now going to the next question, that is 72nd question. Which one of the following statement regarding drone swarms? These are correct. So this question is coming from Russia-Ukraine war, Op Sindoor, right? You have seen the usage of swarm drones across the warfare, the domains of warfare, different segments, different interest groups using drones in different battlefields, right? So yeah, now let's come to the op statements. They use terahertz band. Imagine terahertz band has been used by them to do all these communication and other thing. The computation would be so intensive that they would fail to even operate that entire system, because swarm drones are not 1 or 2 drones. These are hundreds of drones that are operating to just swarm the enemy radar, right? So can you think the terahertz band of frequency would be used? No, they use S-band, L-band frequencies. These are similar to what we use in our televisions or in a satellite communication or a mobile phone communications, but the frequencies are slightly tweaked so that they can match accordingly, right? So this statement is incorrect. Individual drones in swarm drone can communicate with other drones in the swarm. This is truly possible. We have seen Ukraine create these technologies in the early stages. Now India is also coming up with these technologies. One drone can communicate the one drone can coordinate among multiple swarms, and when a mothership acts as a coordinator of all other swarm, and everything is swarming at once. So this is there, the technology has been developed and it is in work, right? GPS spoofing is commonly used technique to counter swarm drone techniques. So we knew thousands of drones that came along to India during Operation Sindoor were all deterred using GPS spoofing and other technologies. So this is a commonly known technology. So this is correct. So here, if you have to eliminate, you had to come to a conclusion that these two are correct. So if these two are correct, you eliminate this one, you eliminate this. So the probability is these two. Now you have to use a simple basic computational knowledge, terahertz band. How extensive would be the computation and how difficult would it be to communicate between? The latency would be so high that they will fail in coordinating with each other, right? So the correct answer here is option B, 2 and 3 only, right? So again, slightly technical. UPSC with science and technology this year has gone completely technical on this. Hardly 2 or 3 questions can be easily solvable, and otherwise that requires good amount of conceptual understanding. Sitting here calmly in an AC room and solving it is always easier, but in exam condition, in that heat, in that sense of panic, it's truly difficult to do it, right? 73rd question, which one of the following statement with regarding to Genome India project is or are correct? Now, Genome India project is a standalone project of Government of India, right? And it is not part of Human Genome Project. So this would be a statement that is directly picked from one of the magazines or one of the PIBs of the Government of India. The correct answer here is derived based on this fact that it is not part of Human Genome Project. So this statement is wrong, incorrect, right? Then the project is funded by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Now, this statement is again confusing because whenever ministries are given, right, we usually, in general, consider it to be wrong. That means all the aspirants, we all, right? Ministry means in generally it would be wrong. But just imagine the Genome India project, right? Genome. Which other ministry would have been doing this? Not Commerce, not Science and Tech, not DOPT or any other ministry, right? It is Department of Biotechnology that had to do it. Ministry of Science, certainly. So this is correct. Its primary aim is to build a catalogue of genetic diversity of Indian population. What else would be? The name suggests this is correct. So yeah, the elimination had to operate in this fashion, that you consider this. Had you known this, you mark this wrong, you derive an answer. But many would have got this wrong because they would have thought Genome India project, it would be part of Human Genome Project of India, because Human Genome Project, we have generally heard about it, right? So again, a difficult question, not an easy question at all. So the correct answer here is option B, that is 2 and 3 only is correct option, right? So 2 and 3 only is the correct statement. The correct option is option B. Technical and factual, difficult to remember, difficult to solve this. We now come to this. Which of the following statement regarding National Quantum Mission is or are correct? This is question number 74, set D, and it's about National Quantum Mission. It aims to developing immediate scale quantum computers of 50 to 1000 physical qubits. So I'll tell you one anecdote. I remember this question because I had studied this for my interview, which happened very recently, right? So I knew this. So as soon as the statement came in, I was very happy that, look, I know this answer, but not easy question. Not an easy statement to comprehend. Not many will get this, but this indeed is correct. So CDAC had this program, and Quantum Mission, National Quantum Mission, has been updated. So they are doing this, and it is indeed 50 to 1000 qubits, right? Physical qubits. Its implementation includes setting up 4 thematic hubs in academic and national research institutions across India. Now, see. In general, when UPSC used to give all these factual stuff during 22, 23, 24, we generally used to consider this as wrong because not many such numbers used to be thrown at us. But this year, the trend is such that UPSC is given very particular number, very pertinent numbers, which not many students would know this, and they would go wrong because of following the trend. But this year, UPSC has tried to beat the trend and be ahead of the trend. So the correct answer here is option A and option B correct. So what is the correct answer? 1 and 2 are the correct answer here, right? Option 1 and 2. So this is again very technical, not easy. It will still come under hard category of question, not easy to solve at all. Now coming to question 75 of set D. Which of the following statement with regarding to Indian Deep Ocean Mission is correct? It was launched by Ministry of Port, Shipping, Waterways, Government of India. I told you right previously when ministry came in one of the previous slides, where ministry was mentioned. Yeah, ministry, here department was mentioned, now here ministry is mentioned. So just imagine, deep ocean mission, right? Something related to scientific, something, Ministry of Earth Science would be there. Ministry of Port Shipping largely deals with inland ports, then navigation and other purpose, licensing and other things. Do you ever think that they would do this? They would launch deep sea mission to extract some ore, some mineral, do scientific experiments? Highly unlikely. So this is why you have to use your logical guessing. Come to a conclusion that this is not the correct answer here, the correct statement here. Mark it wrong. You get the answer straight away just by following the trend. That ministry, why would Ports and Shipping Ministry be part of this, right? So this is wrong here. Now Matsya 6000. Now again, very factual. No one knows that. Designed to carry 3 people to deep sea exploration. If you read the nitty-gritty facts of this, you would have got this correct. But the main trend here was to remove this, eliminate this. Eliminate. If you eliminate this, you get everything. Now Samudrayan was the name of the project. Everyone would have read this, Samudrayan, because Gaganyaan was there to space, Samudrayan was to deep ocean. So people would have connected it, right? So this was generally easy. This was blatantly wrong. This was ambiguous. So you could have come to a conclusion that option C is the correct answer, provided you knew this, or you could logically eliminate this one, right? So that is how you solve this. So 75th question is done. Now question 85 of set D. Consider the following statement about Mission Sudarshan Chakra. So you remember Prime Minister talking about Mission Sudarshan Chakra post Operation Sindoor in the Independence Day speech on the ramparts of Red Fort. So yeah, the exact statement has come in your UPSC Prelims paper as well. So Remember, next time when Prime Minister makes any statement, read a little bit factual stuff in and around that. Your answer, propensity of you getting your answer correct is very high. It aims to enhance India's air defense, ballistic missile defense, and aerial offensive capabilities. Now, one doubt people can have. Sudarshan Chakra was primarily for air defense capabilities, right? Now, would it also include aerial offensive capabilities? Is a genuine question that many people should have in their mind. But this statement is correct. This is verbatim picked from PIB article, right, of that Independence Day speech that was given by Prime Minister Modi. The mission is being designed to enhance rapid, precise, powerful defense response, reinforcing India's strategic autonomy. Now, this statement is very general, right? Had it been some other mission as well, and the statement was given, and it was related to defense, you could have considered this as correct, because it is a very general statement. So this is also correct. One of the aim of this mission is to cover all public places. This was particularly mentioned, all public places, by Prime Minister. All key important installations of India was very clearly mentioned by Prime Minister in his speech, by an expanded nationwide security shield by 2035. Now, had I seen this question in the exam, I would have marked the option as C, because aerial offensive capabilities, I would have considered it as a red flag, right? But the correct answer here is option 1, 2 and 3 correct, right? So this is what is how UPSC is playing around, right? So it includes aerial offensive capabilities as well. It includes to be completed by 2035. All public places are covered, and it is for strategic deterrence as well as strategic offense, right? So the correct answer here is A. So now coming to the 90th question. So the 90th question, this is the 90th question. Consider the following statement with reference to AI Impact Summit held in 2026 in New Delhi, right? So the summit's intellectual framework was based on 3 foundational sutras: people, planning, and progress, right? So this is a very difficult proposition for any student to understand in an exam-like situation. Had you written this down verbatim in your notes, you could have got this right. But this is not right. The correct here, the sutra was people, planet, and progress. This was indeed a small tweak done by UPSC to change the answer, and therefore statement 1 is incorrect. The preamble of the summit stresses democratizing AI resources, which acknowledges the Charter for Democratic Diffusion of AI as a binding framework to support locally relevant innovation and strengthen resilient AI ecosystem while respecting national laws. This statement is again wrong. It is not binding. It is voluntary, right? It is not binding at all. So this statement is also incorrect. Now coming to the third statement, New Delhi Declaration on AI Impact Summit was structured around 7 chakras, 7 pillars, which includes access, social empowerment, AI for science, secure and trusted AI, right? Now, this statement is the only statement that is correct here. So this was again very technical. Not many people would have got this right. Have you done this question, attempted it, got it right, pat your back, done a great job. Really difficult question to answer, especially changing one word in a set of 3 is very difficult to spot in exam-like situation, right? Now, coming to the 93rd question, this is the 93rd question of set D. Which are the following items of defense hardware is or are manufactured in India, right? So we know Su-30 is manufactured by HAL, though it is originally licensed from Russia. Su-30MK fighter jet is done by HAL. T-90 Bhishma is also manufactured in India. Both are from Russian origin, right? Now, Akula class submarine is also a Russian origin, but we do not manufacture this in India. Slightly technical in nature. Many would know Su-30, T-90 Bhishma tanks also is known. Akula class unknown, but see the options, then go ahead. So first go ahead with option 1, correct. Now consider which one would be the most probable option here. Is it one only? I particularly knew that T-90 Bhishma tanks are from India. They are made by India itself. So the correct answer here is 1 and 2 only. And this would be again difficult for a student who's not from a defense background or is not a defense band to solve this answer. But the correct answer here is 1 and 2. Su-30 and T-90 are indigenously licensed, manufactured in India, and originally belongs to Russian technology. Now coming to 98, which of the following pair is not correctly matched? Now this is a trend. In 2025, we had Operation Samadhan and all about Indian Army, little bit of text about Rafale, 5th generation fighter jets and all. Then about army designation. So UPSC has changed the trend, giving few military technologies, military questions. Roughly 3 of them were there this year as well, right? So very technical, not many would know this, what exactly are there. So the only pair which is not matched correctly is the 33 core of Srinagar. So Srinagar, it is Chinar core, right? So this is not correct. We could partially know this because when Leh crisis happened, Leh I mean Galwan crisis, this core, 14 core was in action, right? 33 core is mountain core based out of West Bengal. It is not based out of Srinagar. Srinagar, we generally know that Srinagar Chinar core because Srinagar core, the Chinar core is the one that does all the operations in the Kashmir Valley and the surrounding areas. So it has been a very famous core which is always there in the news for all anti-terror activities that it proudly accomplishes in the valley and makes us all proud. So the correct answer here, which is not correct, is 33 core from Srinagar. The Dimapur core and the 4 core are correct. 4 core you would have heard in Indo-Bangladesh War, General Sagat Singh, right? So these are all Dimapur and also Dimapur, Tezpur. Whenever names come like this, 3 core, 4 core, they generally tend to be of a nearing area. Say if you say 15 core is Chinar core, which is out of Srinagar. 14 core, White Knight. 14 core is of Leh, 15 core is of White Knight. So like that. So that is how the entire concept works of core and all. So this is again highly factual, highly technical in nature. So this was the brief summary of the entire science and technology. Hardly 2 or 3 questions or maybe 4, a little bit smarter, 5 questions at max could be solved in exam-like situations. Until and unless you could know very precise facts, right? The paper was slightly technical, slightly analytical and slightly factual in nature. So science and technology part was perhaps the most difficult subject for this year's UPSC. So I hope you all found this informative, and if you all like this video, do like us, do subscribe us and do share this video. This is me, Navaneeth, signing out from this video, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.